the cast, for example, of Abbott Elementary is obsessed with seeing how far we can take a joke. And so, and what sort of possibilities there are to, push the comedy in any way. And so I think you also work so closely too that I feel very connected to these people as artists, as actors. And so we're really just trying to tickle each other and like see if we can get each other to break. Um and and yeah, I think kind of both really need to be in place if you're going to be set up for success. Um and just having that air of possibility that like anything could happen, I feel like is so beautiful. And Quinta Brunson is really great about sort of creating that.
All right, I'm putting you all to the test with my first question because it's a group question, which I know can be a challenge on Zoom. I have a lot of faith in you, and it's a big question. It's a two-parter. Danielle knows I like these. When each of you decided that you wanted to become an actor at the time, what did you think was step one to making that dream a reality? And now having done it, would you recommend that step to another aspiring actor out there?
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
When I was a kid, oh yeah, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to wait for other people to. I wanted our first joke to be that we all started speaking at the same time. It's a comedy panel after all. Go Danielle, go.
Okay, I knew.
Go, Danielle. Go, Danielle. Go.
I was in a really bootleg production of Aladdin and the Wonderful Magical Lamp. I was Jafar's sister, Halima. So that just shows you kind of how rundown the whole thing was. We got our own costumes from Party City. My grandmother was a real serious patient, so I didn't show any belly at all. And so like I had this like crop top that had a leotard under it and black tights. Like I looked like a big black cat. Like I looked insane. Like as a single mom was like, oh, she's actually really good at this. Let me give her, some lessons and all of that. And for me, I felt like an actor, because my grandmother was so Christian, was just like, she would just be like, actors are streetwalkers. I mean, that's literally what it was for her. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to do that professionally. And so that's really what I thought actors did until I went and pursued it professionally in college at Temple University. I had the honor of having a really great class with Quinta Brunson and Devon Joy Randolph and a lot of really just heavy hitters. And so I'm glad that I stuck with it and didn't listen to my grandmother.
Oh my.
All right, who's next up on this? What did you think was going to be the first step to becoming an actor, and would you recommend that to somebody else?
Well, we're all actors who are listening to this, right? So we're all in it to win it. I think for me, I grew up and I was a dancer, and I really wanted to do a dance. I wanted to be a dancer, and I didn't want to speak because I felt nervous about putting myself out there. But I was also gregarious, and so my teachers said, basically, you can't dance in elementary school. You have to act. And they said, no, no, no. And I said, why? And they said, because you're the only one that has the guts to do it. And I was like, come on. And they're like, no, people are literally too scared to do it. You have to do it because you're the only one who has the guts to do it. So to everyone's credit, we all have the guts to do it. And I really think that still, even though I was really mad at my teachers because I really just wanted to be a dancer. Like that's was my identity. It was like fame was out. I had my sweatshirt cut off with a leotard under it. Like that was me. And they were like, no, you have to do it because you have the guts to do it. And I think that is step one. Just being strong. And I think That's a wonderful impetus. Like being a strong person, like we're ballers, right? Am I right?
It's great. It's great. Great.
As an
Real
outsider
great.
looking in, I definitely believe that of every single one of you, and probably every single person watching this stream right now, too.
But you have to
Yeah.
be, because you are faced with rejection after rejection. And as beautiful as you all are, I know that we share that in common. It's just part of the gig, and it sucks. But it's the only, being fortuitous is the only way to get through this gig. And, like people were saying in the Tony Awards last night, like you just have to have hope. You have to have faith in yourself.
Very, very true. Chris, Deon, either of you want to jump in next?
Not me. I've actually never. I can't wait to feel what that's like someday. I think if I can cheat and give two answers, I think I thought that I needed to study. I knew that I wanted to be an actor, but I didn't know. I knew that I wasn't very good, or I knew that there was something else to do. There was a bit of a journey there, and so I did that, and I would stand by that. I think I didn't know shit, and so. I would say it's important to study or to find people who know more about it than you do. And then I think I also would have said that you have to be a waiter before you are an actor. And I would stand by that as well. I think you absolutely do have to be a waiter. And if you haven't been a waiter, you shouldn't be an actor.
That's great. To your point, the very first Black animation artist for Disney, this guy's name is I think his name is Vincent. And he said to me one time, I seen him on the Disney lot when we were shooting Blackish on ABC. He was there, and I said, "Man, you started back with Disney?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like 84, and I was like, "Had to be a lot of race." I said, "Had to be a lot of racism when you started, man." I was like, how did you even get that job?" And he said, "I applied." It was just that simple. He was like, "I was the only guy that applied." He was like, "I'd be in black, white, anything. It had nothing to do with that." He applied. And I was just like, wow, that took me back. So, to your point, like, yeah, you just got to try these things. You never know what you can do until you do it, And to add to that, you got to embrace. I know this might sound weird, but don't look at failure as failure. Just look at it like, this is gearing you up all for your time to come, especially if you're a very unique talent, So those are two things I would think to keep in mind.
Very valuable things right there. Every step of the way, highs and lows, honed your craft more and more. So I love that answer. I have another big group question for all four of you, because I wanted to lean into the comedy of it all right now. And I'll preface this question by saying, I know it can be very difficult to find, consistent confidence in this industry or any art form for that matter. But I'm curious to each of you remember the very first time you realized you were good at comedy, a time when you did something and you were able to stop and say to yourself, yeah, I'm funny and I have a knack for this.
I wonder if we all have the same answer. And it's like, I feel like it's when you're super young. It's like a weird superpower. I don't remember how old I was, but it's like a drug that you discover way too young. At least it was for me. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm the only one.
I never knew. It was other people that knew. I just saw things differently. And so it wasn't like I was like making people laugh on purpose. It was my curiosity that led people laughing, you know. And I was very curious about everything. So I would question everything. If somebody tripped and fell in front of me and my friends, they would laugh. I wouldn't. I would be more like, why did they fall? And I would go through a whole thing of why they fell. And I guess it became funny, but I used to be like, no, for real, let's really find out why he fell. And it just kept going. So I think that's when I started going, people, I don't know, I didn't know if they were laughing at me or with me. I didn't know. So once I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay.
For me, I think it's like being the troublemaker, you know, because I think there's certain things that nobody says. And you're the one that's going to say it, right? They're like, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to be vulgar. We're not going to go there. And I was always like, maybe I'll be that guy. Like, I'll go there. Like, I'll say that thing. I'll like rile it up. I'll stir the pot. I'll like mix it up, you know? And now I have all these friends that I've known forever. And it's like, they just know it's coming. They know it's coming. And the groans, I hear the groans coming too. Because I know I'm going to slip in and I'm going to say that thing. And they're going to go, oh, and they're going to laugh, right? Because they know I'm the only one who's going to say it. And it's going to be, you know what I mean? The taboo thing is going to come out of my mouth and they're going to go, oh no, or the dad joke. You know, I have friends that are like, I can just hear Lecy's dad joke coming from afar. And I love that. That's dramatic tension. You know what I mean? That's like the dad joke's on its way. And to have people that's love for me, is people who know that terrible dad joke is coming, or the vulgar thing that none of my like thoughtful friends might ever say.
Now I'm going to expect at least one dad joke by the end of this.
Oh no! I'm sure it'll be there.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Danielle, what you got for us on this one?
I would have to say that the people that I grew up with in my environment were just innately funny to me. And I would have to agree with Chris. Like when I was younger, I tried out for this play called How to Succeed in Business. And I was playing this character called Smitty. And there's a moment in the she sings this song called Coffee Break. And they're all kind of like itching to get this, you know, this coffee. And I remember like taking a beat one day and just like looking at my street at kind of all the crackheads. And I was like, I think that's going to be Smitty as a kid, you know? And I was like, I think that's what it feels like, maybe. I never drank coffee before, but he looks like he's itching for something. And so I would kind of like take these characters and perform them in my high school. And they were like, oh my God, this is so great. And I think kind of observational comedy is what I started falling in love with as I got older. And kind of that's the comedy that I studied at Second City and things like that. And so just taking, you know, family members or, you know, friends of mine, and then kind of taking characters and then saying, oh, this actually could be a little bit of this person, or this actually reminds me of this time I met this person at a party. And yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it.
I love it. All right. I'll make it a little easier now. I got specific questions for all of you. Deon, I wanted to start with you because you started working in the late night TV space, and it was making me wonder, what is something about your experience in that realm that came in handy when you shifted gears and went into sitcoms? But then can you also tell us a little bit of a learning curve you experienced when you started to work in the sitcom format?
There. Well, the one thing I learned about the late night, working in late night television, the Tonight Show and Conan, and writing for Conan, and is to be yourself. And I know it sounds cliche, but you have to be yourself, and it'll pay off, you know, in the end, you know. I remember I'm gonna try to say this story real quick. I tried to write when I first got there, I tried to write like the other writers, and they all had like Emmys on their desk, and it was really intimidating. So I tried to write like them, and I never could write like them. None of my stuff would never get shows at all, and I would just constantly try to do exactly what they did, and it just never worked. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna leave. And so the week that I was ready to leave was the week I really didn't give a F about nothing. So I would like just come in there eating apples and wasn't taking notes or nothing. I would just come in because I knew I was leaving. So it really didn't matter. And one day they was writing a bit about Oktoberfest and I didn't know what it was. And they explained what it was. It was a German drinking day. And I was like, everybody got drinking day except for Black folks. And I was like, I said, you got Cinco de Mayo, St. Patty's Day, and Oktoberfest. So I'm like, why Black people don't have a drinking day? I was like, that's crazy. I go back to eat my apple, and they like, write that up. And I was just like, nah. And they was like, no, write that up. Like, write that up. And I wrote it up, and Conan saw it, and he was like, man, we want you to come on the show and do it. And I was like, dang. And then the next day, I was like, well, I'm leaving again. And because it was October, and they was doing another Halloween thing. And I was like, why Black people ain't got no haunted house? Like, write it up. And I was like, what? Write it up. What happened was me trying to write like these guys didn't work, but the way that I thought was so unique and original, and I was doing something that they couldn't do, it got to the point where they had to write for me and write for how I was thinking because it was very unique. And so I never wavered away from that. And I took that with everything else that I did. I just knew that the one thing that a lot of people fail to realize when they look in the mirror in the morning, they never take that person in the mirror with them. You know, they go be like everybody else when that's the person that's going to separate you from everybody. And if you don't get the job, don't be upset. It's because they wasn't thinking about you. You wasn't what they fathomed. They can't fathom you. So therefore, the people that do take a chance on you, they're taking a chance on how brilliant you are and what you're doing and what you bring to the table that's different, not what they thought of. And so that's been my career my whole life. Anything I ever auditioned for, I never got. So anything you ever seen me in, know that it wasn't from an audition. It was from me and that person sitting up talking. And they was like, yo, I like this cat's vibe. Let's go make history. And yeah, that's it.
That's such a good answer. I mean, the reason that be yourself is so cliche is because we have to repeat it over and over, and people rarely seem to do it. For some reason, the simplest thing winds up being the hardest thing to do, and that's kind of
exactly
make or break part of it.
Exactly. It's that you factor, and people run from it because the people who can make changes in your career can't fathom it, and they don't want to take a chance on it because they're trying to keep their pocket spaces in their offices. But some people take that chance and they change the world, like Jordan Peele and a lot of people. And so you got to think like that. But okay.
I love that. All right, Lecy, I'm coming your way now, and I'm going back a little bit because one thing that I find can often be scary in this industry is having success and then making the choice to step away to do other things. And in your case, it was man, and then you left to first go to college and then also do theater in New York City. So what is it about studying, I believe, English at Vassar and also getting stage experience that wound up influencing your craft for the better when you got back to on-camera work?
Well, first of all, taking your own volition, like having your own path, saying my path is mine. It's not what the standard path is. You know what I mean? A lot of people could have said, I'm the #1 TV show in the country. I'm just going to do everything in my power to keep that, to stay on that path. And for me, I just thought, I'm bigger than that. My trajectory is bigger than that. My artistic trajectory is bigger than that. I'm a young person, and this is all I know. what do I not know? You know, what's out there? And it's so interesting that when I made that move, which I was blessed to do, by the way, because, you know, I got into college, I was studying, and I took that path. But it's also like, I wanted to learn about theater. I wanted to study things. I wanted to do performance art pieces. I wanted to learn about women's history. I wanted to learn about ancient Greece. I wanted to know about where theater comes from, you know, what social structures are about. What am I doing in the theater? What I wanted to know about how to analyze a text better and think. And to me, what I've always said to young people, because I was a child actor and I got plucked out of obscurity in my hometown outside of Chicago, and I got dropped in Los Angeles. And my parents said, "We don't want you to do that." And I said, "Mom and Dad, we'll never know why this happened. This is crazy. This is like my second audition." You know, and in that same regard, when parents say to me, you know, what should my kid do? Should I get my kid an agent? Should I do this? How do I move and shake in the industry? I say to them, being an actor, you need to know as much as you can about the world, about life, about culture, about history, about yourself, about psychology, about the environment. All these things make you a better actor. The more you are, look outside yourself, even though you know you're in your own path, you need to know what's going on in life, because the more you're aware of, the more you can bring to the table. You know, if you are just an elitist and you are a rich 1%er, how are you going to play someone? You know, my grandparents were in Gary, Indiana. That's where I went to visit my grandparents. And that's one of the most impoverished, poorest part of the United States. Now, what they gave to me for my soul, for my awareness, for what it's like to be a person in the world, to be an immigrant, is really the core of who I am and the core of who I am as an actor. That's what it is. It's being able to see life, you know, in a certain perspective and have that perseverance. And I feel like what I would say to actors, young actors, older actors, anyone, is just to try to see and be aware of as much as you possibly can, and be as empathetic in the world as you possibly can, because every character has a trajectory and a soul. Even the worst, even the most, you know, dastardly, mean, cruel ones have a trajectory. And that was a long-winded and not very funny response, but
very valuable,
okay.
Though. It isn't.
No
it
dad jokes. Come on, I'll get one.
Don't worry. We still have like 30-ish minutes left. You have time.
Okay.
Chris, I'm going to veer in your direction now to talk a little bit about stage work, because I know you've always done a lot of it and you still do it to this day. So what is something about acting in theater that you think influences your sitcom work for the better, even though a lot of those plays aren't even comedies?
Yeah, I would say on the whole, they are very much in opposition to each other. It's why I feel like I seek them both out, is because they each have treasures that the other doesn't. But, you know, I luckily found very early on that the things that do cross over, especially for a job like Abbott, is so unique and such a gift. You know, theater teaches you to be in ensemble. You know, theater teaches you to understand how your instrument is different from the instrument next to you and how you can be in concert with each other. There's a real sort of like presentational quality to our show. We're very much sort of breaking the fourth wall, and I think the character that I play in particular really wants to communicate with the audience, as it were, and theater certainly teaches you to do that. But I think probably more than anything, it's prepared me just to work at the speed at which you have to make TV. As Lecy was saying, like it takes a while to hone the skills that you need to kind of break down a script in the way that it needs to be broken down, and for you to figure out what your job is there, and and actors are so much more in control on stage, and so I think they have to be able to do that. They are sort of the editor in the way that the editor is the editor in TV and film, and so coming into a TV job with those skills, I feel like is yeah, a gift, and it lets you work as fast as you have to work, I think.
I had a feeling you were going to draw that connection there. Danielle, I have a big question for you that kind of leans into theater. One of the last times we spoke, you told me a little bit about how originally you envisioned a career for yourself on stage and didn't even consider screen work until I think you said something like 2016. So why were you hesitant to do screen work? And then what happened that changed what you thought your potential was in that particular format?
I think the reason why I never saw TV really as an option for myself is because so many people around me, including my representation at that time, would say you're too big for TV. And they'd be like, oh, you're double chin, and I don't know, and da 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 da, and family members. And so I always felt safe in theater. And it was the reason I spent 17 plus years doing it, because it didn't matter my size. I could be any character I wanted to do. And also, my background more specifically was being mentored by Anna Devere Smith. And so documentary theater, where you go out into the street and interview people and transcribe those interviews and then perform as them on stage. I was doing that work from I was 18 years old. And there was someone at the Second City in Chicago that was like, oh, those are characters. And I was like, no, this is real art. These are not characters. These are real people with real stories. And I'm like, yeah, but you're doing character work, sis. Come on down to the Second City. And so I gave it a shot and did the Bob Curry Fellowship. And it was hosted by NBC, and got my manager. And he was like, you've been doing this theater thing for a really long time. I think you should try for TV. And I was so insecure and terrified that I would fail miserably. And I also think being a Black woman, being a Black person, when you're going to undergraduate for theater or even graduate school for theater, and you're not getting seen for Doll's House. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting seen for Happy Slave, number one. You know what I mean? Or Maid, number two, in these undergraduate spaces like Tituba in The Crucible, where you're like, why can't I play this other character? And so being in that kind of mindset, I was terrified. And one of my first auditions, it was a Whitney Cummings project on HBO. They called me and they said, we want you to come screen test. I was like, I have no idea what that even means. I just knew a Black car came to my hood, and I was like, please come at a time where y'all will not be in an issue or situation. And they flew me out to Los Angeles, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I actually lost the role to a YouTuber, but the casting director was like, you need to move. And so I quickly was like, okay, I need to get over this fear. And I just thank God for Coleman Domingo. He was doing a project at the Geffen. And so I was like, I can't be in LA with no money. That's the first thing. And Coleman said, okay, well, come do this play real quick. And we did Barbecue, and I was an understudy, and I got to learn very quickly about the TV industry, working with all of those titans. And it truly changed my life. And I'm really happy that I got over those fears, because my career has changed. I finally got my big break. I was able to, move my mother up to Los Angeles and, really help my family in a beautiful way, and also give them so much pride. I'm first generation Jamaican American. They never thought this would ever be even like a dream, like they didn't even have this dream for themselves, much less their niece, their daughter, and things like that. And so I'm happy that I can bring that pride to them. And the WhatsApp group, my gosh, blows up every day with them. They're so happy. And so for anyone that's watching that may be, feeling sensitive about how their bodies are, or, oh, I don't know, I have this insecurity, just do it. Just go feel the fear.
Also, what is that? Like, who does not, like, when your face came on the screen, I was like, who is that gorgeous movie star? And like, what are people's, sometimes I feel like I have the dysmorphia, but other times I feel like it's the casting people. Like, what?
Yeah.
You are like movie star gorgeous. And like, who the hell, and who the hell sees that? Or that's their view. Why are there these limitations? Like, what is the social structure that says someone like you can't be in this starring, gorgeous leading role? I mean, that's a problem. And that's not your problem. That's some other thing's problem.
No, for sure. And I think, as Deon was saying, like, being yourself will get you a long way. I think being in Los Angeles, I was like, I cannot be anybody else other than myself. And that's really when I started booking. I was like, I can't be worried about what this breakdown says. Yes, they may want, there was a breakdown last year. It was like a 30-year-old white woman who was a model. My manager was like, try it. And I was like, what? He's like, you're acting. Got the role, Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, just do it. Just see what, don't have those, I know we all have these things about us where we're like, oh, we don't know, but just do it. I think just my teacher back in school used to say nipples to the wind. Like, quite literally, you got to feel that feeling and do it anyway. And I think that has helped me in a huge way in my career, truly.
It's what you bring to the table. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, just, you never know until you know. And to add, it is very scary when that black car pulls up in the hood and the whole hood sees that car. They're like,
I was like,
you better than us.
While I'm gone. Please don't run me while I'm gone.
So funny.
So in that answer, you brought up the idea of kind of getting your big break. Danielle and Chris, I'm going to throw this question to you because I have a feeling this is something that many actors out there struggle with, the experience of waiting for that big break to come. And you two both had it in a very big way with Abbott Elementary and Ghosts, of course. So what was the key to continuing to stay positive and forge forward while waiting for that dream level project that was the perfect fit for you to finally come?
I mean, I feel like if I had the key, if I had the potion, I could be a billionaire. It's really difficult. I think things that help are I count the people around me. I count, the people around me I'm very grateful for. And while you're waiting for maybe a life-changing job, you don't have to wait to have the right people around you. You also don't have to wait to act. I moved to New York City with really only the hope that I would work. And I got to, do a lot of fabulous plays in New York. And so when that itch is being scratched, I feel like it really sort of lessens the roller coaster, the highs and lows. I feel like it's just one of these like facts of life sort of things. It's painful, and everybody sort of like has to go through that in a way, because it does sort of shape you into what sort of artist you're going to be in the future. And so as much as I want to answer that, I kind of want to say I'm really grateful for how difficult it was at times and continues to be. I'm really good at finding ways to keep my actor brain busy, and I'm really good at surviving on brown rice and sardines. And like, like Lecy was saying earlier, those are things that you can't really teach. You can't make somebody hungry for it. And your taste and who you are as an artist can really only be defined by you. And so, and I think that happens by struggling a little bit. That said, surrounding yourself with the people that I feel like are just maybe a step above where you are, or are in a place that you aspire to be, whether that be anything. For me, it was artistically. I knew I needed to hang out with people that were funnier than me. Yeah, those are things that you can control. You can control how much you act, and you can control what, social circle you're swimming in, and how you take care of your heart, I suppose. But all the other shit is kind of like bad for a good reason. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I've had so many wild side hustles. I used to work in the basement of Girl Scouts of America, and I used to pack the cookies, the Thin Mints. And I was like, after like 2 years of that job, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I need to just fearlessly go after my dreams, even if that means I am broke, even if that means I'm sleeping on an air mattress for a year, which I did in Los Angeles. I was like, I have to be delusional about this dream because I'm never going to pack cookies again. I was like, I'm sick of it. And so I would have to say, as Chris was saying, community is everything. When I was in Chicago, all of my friends, we all moved to Los Angeles at the same time. And so like anytime we needed someone to do a self-tape or anything, all of those things, someone was there. My community during, in those moments when I was in the trenches, because there is a ton of rejection that happened with this job and being an actor. And like, I remember there was a moment maybe right before Ghost where I was like, you know what? I'm not auditioning anymore. I'm having anxiety. And I just stopped auditioning for like 4 months. And my manager was like, okay, sis, but we need you to get this money. And I'm like, I cannot handle the no anymore. And I was getting so close to so many different things and be like, oh no, she's just not the right fit. Or I'd get into like literally got into the room in one audition and they were like, we're so sorry, we already cast the role. And I'm like, so why did I drive all the way here from Sherman Oaks to Santa Monica? Like, what are y'all doing? And so I was like, I'm not dealing with those shenanigans anymore. I'm just going to create my own work. And so creating my own work, things that kept me fulfilled. Like I have this page called #booked I did with my best friend, Lanisa Renee Frederick, where we talk about kind of the struggles that Black actors go through in the entertainment industry. And we would do these little skits online on Instagram of like, when you go into an audition waiting room, sometimes it feels like a cookout where you're like, girl, what? I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh my God, well, okay, well, I'll see you in there. I'll see you. Like, those kinds of things. Those things then started to go viral. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we have something. And just being ourselves helped. Just being able to create, I think creating my own work, creating my own legacy and not having to wait for someone else's legacy, where 9 times out of 10, I would just be in there being like, okay, y'all want to ride the school bus? All right, come on in. I was like, I need to create some depth for myself, also for my career as well, too. And I'm so grateful for Ghosts because they have allowed me to use my imagination in so many different ways that I really haven't been able to do in my career. Like Alberta is an incredible character. She's a 1920s Prohibition era ghost. And like, I love going to work and playing her every day. And I'm excited for the projects that I get outside of Ghosts. And so, yeah, I have to say, like, creating my own work, it saved my career and a lot of times saved my life and my community. Like, I would not be here without them. All the tears and the celebrations and we're always there for each other. And so, yeah, I hope that's a good answer to your question, but yeah.
I love how it just keeps building on the idea that the key is to just be yourself.
Yeah.
But also, I think that, there was this whole thing when we were on strike about, the whole production, right? What has changed since COVID? The fact that we have to have our ring light, we have to have our thing, and do we have a speaker? And are we Zooming with them? Are they in person? How do we set up our own thing? But as to what you were saying, you know, one thing, sometimes my friends who actually have real jobs, like normal people jobs, they say, you're going to a stage audition, you're going to a TV audition, you're going to these auditions. Do you feel this cutthroat competition? And I say, if I did not have the women who are auditioning with me for my role, I would be out to sea. I need those women. What we say when I'm in a theater audition and I see my usual lineup of ladies, we're all going for the same gig. I always say, I hope one of us gets it. One of us, not me, one of us. Because if one of us gets it, that means there's justice. It's the community of that you need. Yeah. And I think instead of saying like, should we get compensated for kind of this rigmarole that we do now in order to do auditions? And as we know, it is a rigmarole. It's no joke. You know, you don't always have, you know, some, you know, grandmother figure to read with you to come in and or whatever for a scene, or I don't have like a 5-year-old if I'm playing a mother to run in, and you know, that's not in my universe. But what you do miss is the community, is seeing the people that used to sit in that audition room with, and whether they were nervous or they wanted space or they wanted to go in the bathroom and change their shoes from their sneakers to their pumps or put on some, you know, makeup or whatever the case, you felt that you were with them. And it's hard not having that. I mean, it's not the same thing. We as actors, we are communal beings, and we need to have these conversations. Just this with you guys. I mean, not to be all soft, I love hearing what you guys are saying. I feel like I'm in one of those rooms, you know, and I miss that. I miss talking like this with actors. It's so important to me, and I appreciate being here.
It's true. It's part of the reason why I love being here, getting to be a small, tiny piece of these conversations that really do matter to a lot of people out there watching, steering the conversation into like the actual production of it all. I have a big group question. I have a feeling there's a million different answers to this, but for each of you, let's say you met an experienced actor who books their very first comedy project and they're afraid that they're not funny. Do you have any tips or exercises you would suggest that they try in order to kind of like flex those muscles before filming begins?
Move out the way.
Quit.
Move out the way. What are you doing here then? Like, comedy is, man, it's, you know, nowadays with it being, people being so, you know, tense or whatever, it has really kind of, watered down the thought process of comedians. And you can see it in everybody's work, and you can see it in the audience too. And it's terrible. I tell people to come to my shows all the time. I'll be like, get out of here. We don't want you here. We don't want your closed mind. It's people who can handle dialogue, and they can handle laughing for 1 hour of your life. You can escape and be a part of something, you know, that's funny and making light of, you know, what's going on in the world or whatever, you know? And so comedy is something that you have to just dive into, man. And if you don't know how to do it, then like, just don't do it, you know, like just move out the way, like on the real, cause it's a gazillion comics looking at you going, man, if I had the opportunity, man, if I had the opportunity. So if anybody's doing a project and they get tensed up at the comedy part of it, and it's a comedy, then I think they shouldn't even be doing it. Like, just move out the way. That's like you never play football and you're on the team and somebody give you the ball, like or run right over you. You know, comedy is it's tough. You know, it's not just becoming somebody. You know, you got to know timing. You got to read the room. You got to have a feeling. It's a feeling. It's something that comedians have. There's no coincidence that I can look backstage through a curtain and see an audience of 5,000 people out there and know if this show is going to be good or not without saying one word to anybody. It's a feeling that you have. It's something that you know how to do. And you take that and you take that instinct, believe in your instinct, and you apply that to the stage. And you'll know exactly the direction to go in if you follow that instinct just by looking out there. So if a person doesn't have that instinct, then they shouldn't be doing it. Sorry.
Anyone else have any tips or tricks to have someone maybe build confidence before they jump into something?
Well, I can say this as someone that did get their first audition basically for comedy when I was 12 years old, right? So this is in my wheelhouse. I played the straight man back in the day on the OG Roseanne. You know, I didn't get the jokes written for me. There were a lot of other people. There was Roseanne, there was John Goodman, there was Laurie Metcalf. Darlene was queen of the one-liners. And then there was me, right? Basically in the kind of the hierarchy, arguably. But what you don't know is if you're not just zinging one-liners, people get to know you. If you play stuff straight and true and you think it's funny, then at some point, if you have staying power in this endeavor, people will get you. They're going to get you. And a lot of people, it might not be everybody, you might not be their number one, but at a certain point, they're going to say, you know what? I get you. I get your humor. And, you know, I am in rehearsal. I work with all these brilliant people. People are laughing, and there's a lot of politics in our business, right? So there's people who love themselves more than you love you. There's people that think that someone should, you know, hang up your wardrobe a certain way, and you should have, like, there's some ego stuff, right? But in my opinion, if you stick to yourself, you play it true to you, and you have a sense of humor, the audience is going to know and say, I get you. I think you're funny. Because there are so many times I'm in rehearsal at work and I'm like, no one thinks I'm funny. And then the audience comes in and they laugh. And I go, oh my gosh, thank goodness. You know? And I want to be cool and be like, it doesn't matter. But I'm like, thank goodness they're laughing at my joke. And so you never know. Sometimes I think it's like, for me, it's more like the tortoise than the hare sometimes. Because people want to get to know you, right? And then, like on Abbott, you just give a look and people go, oh my God, I love that guy, right?
You love me?
Oh.
Are you trying to tell
Yes,
me?
yes, I love you.
I love you too. I feel like I would just echo what Deon said. It does take a serious amount of just like jumping in, I think. You know, when Abbott started, I was a little nervous. I'm typically cast as these kind of like darker, brooding, you know, Jacob is a real kind of social puppy dog and very enthusiastic, and comedy requires just jumping in. And you know, I don't come from a strong comedy background, but I knew that, like we were just talking about, if you play the truth of something, it's really somebody else's job to make it funny, you know? Rhythm and timing, that's all something that's hopefully innate in you. But working on Abbott the past few years have just taught me to jump in. You know, there's something really beautiful that happens in that space where you don't know what the fuck you're doing. It's a really creative moment. And especially on film and TV, you know, we're desperate to capture things that are authentically human and that cannot be rehearsed. And so it really took a while for me to kind of embrace that the best things are going to come out of you being the most uncomfortable, possibly. And so, yeah, don't stick around, jump in, or yeah, as Deon said, do something that would make you happier.
Yeah, for real. I mean, like, the thing is that everybody's searching for a magical moment, and that's the downfall of anything comedic or even just regular acting. If you constantly had magical moments, you wouldn't have a magical moment, you know. So it's like you have to embrace the downfall in order to have somewhere to go. In comedy, you have to, like, when you do specials, like comedy specials, when you see on Netflix, everybody got comedy specials, know that that's the end game. That's the end game of a 2-year process of writing. Every night I write, every night I go perform, night after night. If I have 15 jokes, one work, maybe two. And I take that 1 or 2 jokes and I put it over here. And then I write another 10, 15. And I take that 1 or 2 jokes and I put it here. And I keep doing that until I got enough material. It's like an hour. And I can't, one thing you can't do is lie to yourself. It's impossible. It's really impossible. You can go out in the world looking like this, but when you go home, you have to face yourself. And so I have to be real with my material and go, this is the portion that's funny. I can't go, this is okay. No, this is what's funny. This is what I'm going to keep. And then the other stuff I'm going to push to the side. I never throw away nothing. And I push that to the side. And then once I have that, then I can tour and then I can do a special. Me touring might last 3 months. And I shoot a special that's in one night. But the other 2 years, that's riding home with no radio, windshield wipers, no rain, just trying to figure out where I went wrong and trying to make this happen. But once you embrace that that's the job, it doesn't hurt that much because now you're going, oh, okay, yeah, this is the process. You know, when you get a tattoo, it really hurt, but that little bit of pain is for something beautiful forever. You know, if that makes sense. You know, so comedy is, and I'm saying, anybody want to try comedy, please try it. There's enough room for everybody. Your perspective is just as great as anybody else's. You know, just keep doing and honing your craft and doing what you're doing, whatever, you know. But those that are in position to do comedy, and which was your question, and they get nervous and they don't know what to do, then you have to be honest with yourself and go, I don't know if I can really do this. And, you know, throw it to somebody else.
So Deon, is it as clear for you to do that as like when you see your buddy doing comedy, right? Let's say you're seeing your buddy, like, do you say like, is it the same? I mean, I'm sure it's different with yourself, but like, this part's good, this part, you know, do you feel that kind of criticism when you're with, like, in a night with other comics?
Oh yeah, like when comics sit up at night, man, and we all together, whatever, you know if you're doing good or if you're not. Like, if you're doing good, everybody's gonna come up to you and be like, yo, you was amazing. If you wasn't, it's you and the DJ. You're going over there going, So what you gonna play next? You know, because nobody else,
Oh, no.
no one's talking to him. You know, and then the audience will let you know too, because they'll walk right by you and go to the guy that did good, and you'll feel that. And so you have to. And but the other comics, the ones that's real, that really like you, they'll give you tips and tell you, man, that didn't work well, or what you should do is do this and add this. You know, those that you have that's good friends. But other than that, yeah, you just got to kind of like fill it out, you know, and know that this is a craft, and it's a dying craft, to be honest with you too, because right now, and I have nothing against comics that do crowd work. A lot of crowd work comedians going on, and no one's really writing right now. And they're going on stage and demeaning people and talking about them. And the people love it, and they pay to get talked about. But then there's another craft of comedians, observational comics such as myself and other comics, that write material and craft it not to hurt people's feelings, or to hurt people's feelings or whatever, but taking a lot of time into that to, you know, really make people laugh and make people think and make people love. And we hope that people keep supporting that with comedians, you know, the writers of this. So. Yeah.
I agree with you, because I used to do improv for a long time. I mean, that's where I got my start as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I did it after I graduated from college in New York. And I feel like the easiest thing to do is just, you know, pile on someone and just say, do you look like this? And it gets laughs.
Yeah.
But I think it's the easiest thing to do. And I feel like that's the easiest thing to do in sitcom writing too, is insult. Like I really firmly believe this. And it's not because I'm above, you know, being negative. I mean, we all have darkness inside of us, but it's like, I feel like that impulse is the way out, the easy way out. The hard thing is what you're saying, to actually construct things that you're thoughtful about. Mm-hmm. And that's much more powerful.
Yeah, you can, and I'm not saying like you shouldn't insult people. It's just how you do everything. It's just how you do it. Because there might be some people in the audience. What's happening now is a lot of people are coming to shows, and I don't know if you've seen this recently, and I'll finish. But George Lopez just walked off stage. It was on TMZ. He was doing this material, and he walked off stage because they kept talking in the audience. George Lopez is a bona fide writer, comic. And they're sitting in the audience talking back to him, hollering at me. He's begging them, please chill. I've spent 2 years writing this material. Can you just listen to it, please? And they just, rah, 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 rah. And he walked off stage and he left. And he just couldn't take it. And so, and they're going, oh, he just walked off and we didn't get our money. And it's like, he asked you to be quiet. Like, this is a passion to people. And we want the audience to know that there's still writers out here. And we're not here for that fast buck or that fast claim to fame or whatever, you know. And so, yeah, it's tough right now, you know. But those that are really writers, or those that want to write and really want to get off into this craft, it's here for you. It's here for you. And, you know, just, again, do what you do. You know, your perspective is definitely needed from anybody that want to do stand-up. We would love to hear from.
We'll definitely come back to improv in a moment. We do have an audience question specifically about that. But first, not to cut you off, Danielle, what is your answer to that original question? A technique you would recommend someone new to comedy use?
Okay. Well, let me tell you the comedy show happening while this discussion was going on. My computer was about to die, and my best friend literally came and was crawling on hands and foot, trying to get almost tangled herself up in the ring light. And I was like, this is so fitting. And she was like, great job. Everyone's amazing. I was like, girl, what's going on? So apologies in advance. I hope this doesn't die, but I just wanted to let y'all know, if you all saw me being like, doing weird things. I feel like people need to get training for certain. And this my mama called me asking about oxtails. My mother is called. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do not mean to be this hot.
We have all been there.
Turning this off. But
she said we have all been there with our mom asking us for oxtails.
I'm being like, where are my oxtails?
That's so funny.
Okay. Being serious, this is SAG-AFTRA Foundation. Now, let me tell you something. People need to get trained, right? So if they're feeling uncomfortable, it means they may not feel equipped with what's going on, whether it's scene work, stand-up comedy. You need to get the experience. And so I love training. I love being in class, especially for comedy. There's so many different places here in Los Angeles. If you're in Chicago, there's so many other places as well, too. Getting a coach is really helpful as well, too, but also getting hands-on experience. I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm so embarrassed to say this. I booked this TV show called Get Shorty with Ray Romano and all Peter Bogdanovich and all these heavy hitters. And I thought that I was feeling really good as a TV actor. Theater and TV acting is completely different. So I'm coming on set doing all these shenanigans. Literally, I'm like projecting I'm in a room of 2,000 people. And I just remember Romano being like, babe, I need you to calm down. He's like, I need you to calm down. I said, what do I need to do? And having that hands-on experience for 3 years on that show, and Young Sheldon taught me how to act for TV. I knew as a comedian, I was always going to be funny, right? But I was like, the difference of doing that for stage and also doing it for television and also doing it now for film, they're all different mediums. And so coaching has helped, class has helped, but also the hands-on experience was, I mean, the best that I could ever have gotten. And I'm very honored in my career that I've literally worked with some of the best actors in the business. And so if you can't get that hands-on experience, get your behind in class.
Yeah, and look, I just want to add this real quick. I have no issue with comics that do crowd work. I just want to throw this out there. I'm just saying, to the audience, read the room of the type of comic that you're going to see, and just do your research, because a lot of the crowd work audience are coming to the writer's audience, and just do your research. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, bye.
Is fair enough. I get it. All right. I want to go back to that improv question. Deon, this was specifically for you from Lisa, but after I want to open it up to the whole group. Lisa wants to know, during Blackish, how much improv did you do on the show?
So this thing that they do now, like even on the show I'm on now, Average Joe, it's this thing now that I guess they do with me a lot of times, where we go through the script and we, do the scenes or whatever we do. And then they always go, all right, get Deon his playtime. And they used to do that on Blackish. They'd be like, all right, Deon playtime. And I would just go. And a lot of that would be used, like every time it was go time, it was like we would ad-lib and just go crazy. And so that has led over to like a lot of projects I do now. I guess they heard about that and they'd be like, all right, give them this go time. And I just go, so it was a lot of that. I mean, you can tell what was written and what wasn't, because it just naturally just went crazy. It wasn't like we was reading lines or nothing. We were just going crazy, and Anthony being a straight man led me to just, go crazy. I just had something to play off of, Anytime you're doing a show, look for something to play off of. Look for somebody to play off of, any character, in order to enhance what you got going on. Even if it's the funny guy and you the straight guy, look for the funny guy, you the straight guy to play off of. Anthony was like the best guy to play off of. And so, yeah, we ad-libbed a lot, definitely.
How about for the rest of the group, any significant experience improvising on your particular shows, or is it heavily scripted instead?
I feel like what happens for Alberta, my character specifically, is anytime I do improvise, those moments end up going viral online. And so they let me down. improvise sometimes a little bit more. But our cast is stacked with excellent, I mean, masterful comedians like Brandon Scott Jones and Rebecca Wasaki and Richie Moriarty. I mean, like they are from the improv world and they're just amazing. And so it's always fun when we get the chance to play. But our writers, they're amazing. They're really good. They're awesome over there. Yeah, they're fabulous.
Chris, Lecy, anything you want to add on improv?
Well, I think, there is something to, as kind of theatrical as the sitcom form is, they do, I'm thinking of Terry, our script supervisor. They want you to remember what you're doing. They want the bag in the left hand, and they want the coat in the right hand, and they want your hair going this way. So there is something very meticulous about the form. It's not, that element of it is not improv, because they want to edit it together. And if you love your editor, like I love mine, Brian Schnuckel, and you love your script supervisor, like I do mine, Terry, you have to remember that, right? And that's very technical. That's no joke. And there's a lot to remember. It's kind of like rubbing your stomach and patting your head. Like you do that all the time on television, right? But when you're not, if you can get the skill to do this and then realize that you have this infinite potential to be in the moment, that is all improv. And the most important thing about improv is knowing that you're in the moment, which is what acting is. So really, there's ad-libbing and adding, but if you're in the moment, listening, like if you're on stage and there's an actor that blows his line, right? What do? Do you just deliver your line, or do you respond to him? And normally, if you respond to him and deliver your line, that's doing your job, because you're in the moment. You're not just a robot going, this is my line. You're in relationship and you're listening to what your stage partner is doing. And that is the magic, being able to do the technical things that your beloved editor and your beloved script supervisor need you to do technically, and your beloved writers who want you to get every last beautiful pearl of wisdom that they've dropped on your lap, and then being free somehow with all that oppression to listen and respond and be in the moment. And it really is, when you think about it, all acting is really improv.
Yeah, I will say I love what everybody said, first of all. There is a real air of improvisation on the set of Abbott Elementary. The scripts come very well baked, like Danielle was saying. I feel like if you're on a show that you feel like you need to punch up, then you're in trouble. I think part of Abbott's a giant part of the success of our show is how well it's written. I think we just have some really, really phenomenal comedy writers. But yeah, I think also integral to the success of a sitcom is you need to have the other components be able to pull their weight as well. And so you can have a brilliantly written show that needs to be the cast, for example, of Abbott Elementary is obsessed with seeing how far we can take a joke. And so and what sort of possibilities there are to, push the comedy in any way. And so I think you also work so closely too that I feel very connected to these people as artists, as actors. And so we're really just trying to tickle each other and like see if we can get each other to break. And and yeah, I think kind of both really need to be in place if you're going to be set up for success, you know. Um, and just having that air of possibility that like anything could happen, I feel like is so beautiful. And Quinta Brunson is really great about sort of creating that environment. So that's kind of how it works on our set.
And let me say, Blackish did have great writers, because I didn't say that, and everybody else said that about this show. They had phenomenal writers that wrote incredible stuff, as well as writing in, topics that people wasn't touching on at the time. To make those funny was uniquely, talented or great to do. But and this goes to all directors, producers, whatever. If you have a person that is comedic, like a comedic genius, and they're great at timing or being funny or whatever, you would do yourself a disservice having them there just reading lines. You're cheating the reason why you have them there. So it's very important. I think you'll get a more bang for your buck if you allow these people that you consider geniuses or great, that's why you hire them, to only come read the lines. And the writers are phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but there's a hybrid of letting the writers be amazing, but also letting that stage play actor that's great with comedic time, or the comedian, to also show you why they're there.
And on that note, like for young actors who are listening, like, you aren't hired to be a robot. This is what you were saying, Deon. You're not hired just to say the words. You're hired to bring your stuff. You're hired to bring your art.
Yeah.
And your inspiration and your talent. And so I would say, like, seize your power. We all have power, and you're not going in to plug in. That's what you're not in a cubicle. That's not our job, to be in a cubicle. Our job is to bring something to the table. And I feel like the way actors are treated, that we want to do good and please mommy and daddy, right? Oh, please don't fire us. Please, please like us, right? Because we finally got a gig. Sometimes that mentality makes us not deliver the goods, because we're so grateful to get the, scrap from mommy and daddy, that's a different energy than saying, okay, thanks for the scrap. Now I'm bringing it, right? And so I could not agree with you more, Deon, about that, because I feel like the way we're treated makes us small. But when we have our job, we want to be in our power.
Yeah.
I only have time for one more question, and my brain was just exploding because I kept changing what it was going to be based on all of the wonderfully insightful things you all just said. I'll leap off what you were just saying, though, Lecy, to take us out here, because I talk about this a lot, and I think it's a really important thing, finding the power of your own voice in this space. And you're all playing characters who you've played for many years, and there comes a time when, really you probably understand them better than anyone. So can you each give me an example of a time when doing something with your character was important to you, you spoke up about it, and it wound up influencing the show for the better?
There was a character in Ghost called Creepy Todd. Creepy Todd collected toenails of Alberta on eBay and tattooed my face on his back. Like, he was just a very strange character. He came back in season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and Alberta's great-great-grandniece came to the Woodstone Mansion, and there's a beautiful moment where, we sing the song together and it's fabulous. But originally, she was supposed to end up with Creepy Todd, the niece, and that would kind of end the episode. And I remember going to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman. I was like, listen, we know that this guy's kind of a little weird, but what are we actually saying about Black women? Like, how desperate are we that we're going to be ending up with a guy that is collecting toenails and has her grandmother, her great ancestor on the back, and she's okay with it? And they were like, oh, yeah, we never really thought about that. We just thought it was a really funny thing. I said, well, we need to start, I was like, I love y'all down. Like, I think y'all are amazing. But I was like, just something to think about, And I remember they were like, yeah, no, this actually makes sense. We talked to the other writers, and so we're going to rework that ending. And so we think in that episode, they're going to end up together. But then when Samantha, who's played by our amazing leader, Rose McIver, is like, yeah, but remember those toenails in the back? And don't you go to Benihana and all this crazy stuff? She's like, oh, you know what? This may not be for me. And I'm like, yes, thank you. And so, the thing that I love about our show is Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, they are always willing to listen. And not everything that we ask for gets done, but if there's something that we are passionate about, they will listen and they will talk to the writers and then kind of make a decision on whether it could be changed or not. And so that's the thing that I love about being on this series, is it really does feel like an ensemble on all sides. We are in concert with these writers. We are in concert with our showrunners. And I think that's proven to be also the success of this series, because they are writing for all of these ghosts from different backgrounds, diversity wise, race wise, time periods. And so that's the thing that I feel like makes it also a very cool work environment to go to know that you can pitch something and it won't immediately get shut down.
I'll say that I am always, because I've been with my character for so many years, so I know her so well, but also I am the Chi-Town girl in the group, and our show takes place in the Chicago area. So I am always, there was a time where I was like, it was my story by, I was like, we are not talking about sports. Chicago is a sports town. We have to deliver the sporting goods because that's what our culture is. So I had this, my story by was that my character, it was Bears Packers, which is a huge deal in Chicago. It's a big rivalry. And so my family's all getting together for the Bears game, which is such a Chicago thing. And then my boyfriend shows up with a Packers cheese head on. And so, the madness ensues. But like that rivalry, that energy, the fact that people in Chicago, if you have any kind of cap on that's a sports cap and you're walking around Chicago, people will they will jump in and engage with you. It's just part of the culture. And what's beautiful is that a lot of places in the United States are like this. It's just specific to Chicago. So it's not really about Becky, but it's something I can bring to the table for our show and say, like there was a thing in ABC and there was like a piece of pizza in the ad, and it was a New York slice, and I said, it's got to be a tavern. It's got to be a square slice. And sure enough, they made it a square slice.
As a New Yorker, I will say the right pizza in every single show, depending on region, is of the utmost importance. So I respect.
Thank you. It's the details, right?
Always. All right, Chris, you want to take us home on this one?
What happened to Deon?
I know.
I feel like it's the best cliffhanger ever, though. They need to bring him back just to answer this question at another date or something.
If you can hear us, write something in the chat.
Yes.
I don't often have the experience of I don't think my character would do that. I think it's kind of my job to figure out why my character would do that. I think I'm, as I said as well, blessed with very talented writers. I think occasionally, like, writers don't exactly, um, certainly in a sitcom, write things the way that we might say them in real life. And so there's like minor stretching, tweaking there. But, you know, at this point, I've been playing this character for 3 years. And yes, you can sort of assume that by now you are kind of an authority on it, but so are the people who write him. I show up and I get to play on set, but just down the lot, there's a room of 10 people who are also experts on this character and whose job it is to figure out what Jacob's dreams and fears and fantasies and neuroses are. And yeah, I trust them.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
we do hear you. We can't see you, but we can still
can
get
you
your
hear me?
answer to the question.
Oh, golly. Well, hopefully you can hear me. I'm so sorry to SAG and everybody. I'm in Chicago right now, and the weather's crazy, and I thought I was doing good. Anyway, sorry. Just saying that. Hope you can hear me. Take chances, do things outside the box. That's what I was trying to say. Me being a comic, taking a dramatic role and bringing some funny to it and making it something that's different is something that drew me to this project, and take these chances with these roles. And that's what I was basically trying to say. All right. Yeah.
No better way to close out this Q&A. Thank you for jumping back in. And again, to all four of you, thank you so much for being here and sharing some of your experience with us.